Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Enhancements Review webinar today. My name is Dana with the iCarol team, and I want to thank you so much for joining us and for being here to learn about some of the latest enhancements that have happened in iCarol in recent months. As you know, we like to try to communicate with you through our release notes, on the blog, and various different ways about all these enhancements that come out. And because we're a web-based software, we can roll these enhancements out on a pretty regular basis, but this is just one more way that we like to kind of bring everybody together to review some of the top enhancements and give you a chance to ask your questions and learn a bit about more about them in a format if a webinar format is something you prefer. So thank you again for joining us and welcome. Before I get started, I just want to give you a couple brief housekeeping notes about how we'll do things today. Like all of our webinars, we're recording this one as well. So if you want to review this information later or share it with a colleague, there is a recording. You'll have access to that. Everyone will get a follow-up email in the days after the webinar today. And also we'll host this recording on our website as well. So you'll have a chance to see that later. And then also, if you have any questions today, you will be welcome to send those through to us. There is a questions area in your GoToWebinar side panel. Please go ahead and send in your written question. When you see something you have a question about, send it on in. We typically, for this webinar, will stop after each section and talk a little bit about, or have a chance after each section to ask and answer those questions, along with an opportunity at the end as well if there's time left. So please go ahead and send those through whenever you have them. And with that, I want to move ahead and introduce ourselves. Again, my name is Dana with the iCarol team. I'm our communications and social media manager, so a lot of the blogs that you might read, emails, and our social media platforms, a lot of times that's me, and I'm happy to be communicating with you about iCarol. And I'm also joined by Crystal. Crystal, if you want to say hi.
Hi everyone, my name is Crystal McEachran. I'm the Senior Product Manager here at iCarol, so you'll hear a lot from me in the Ideas portal and anytime you might have a custom request or a question.
Great, and I want to thank Crystal for being here to help answer questions and talk about these products and these enhancements that she's played a big part in bringing to your system. So we'll get right into it and talk about what's on our agenda for today. So the features that we're going to talk about and review today include some that fall under a category we like to call harness your data. We're going to talk about exports in iCarol and how those can now be scheduled to occur on a repeat basis. We'll talk about some enhancements that we've made to our resource API. And we'll talk about a new API in iCarol, the contact record outbound API. And I want to preface this by reminding everybody that we are kind of changing the way we talk about some features and areas of iCarol to be more inclusive of all the different ways that people are using iCarol to document the interactions that they have with their clients on lots of different channels. And so a reminder that we are kind of moving to language like that. And so when we say contact record, just know that that is what you might be used to hearing as a call report. It's just the new way we're kind of referring to call reports. So contact records, contact forms, those are just call reports, the things you use to document your interactions with your clients. We'll also talk a little bit about some features that have been implemented that help you protect client privacy, such as some enhancements to the shredding capabilities in iCarol, really brought along and inspired in part by the general data protection regulations that the EU implemented a few months ago. So we'll talk about those, and also some options regarding your chat transcripts. We're also going to talk about some features that help with the continuity of care for people in your community that use your service and maybe use other services as well. They're all working together to try to create that continuity of care for clients, such as being able to assign follow-ups to partner organizations that you're partnering with using iCarol, and also encrypting and emailing your contact records from iCarol to someone else directly from within iCarol. And then finally, we'll end with talking about a multi-channel access feature, being able to send referrals by 898-211, which is the national texting platform that's been implemented by 211. So let's get right into it and talk first about scheduled exports. We have long advocated the belief, and it is our philosophy, that the data that you put into iCarol is absolutely your data. It's yours, you own it. We are simply the stewards of it. We keep it protected and stored for you, but we want to make sure that you can get to it. And so we provide you with lots of ways to retrieve that data for your use, whether it's for reporting to a funder or participating in a project and where you need to send that data in, or for your own record keeping. For whatever reason you need to get it out. We have the statistics area where there are all sorts of charts and graphs where you can run reports and then export that data to Excel. And then of course there's also the admin tools area where you can extract the full data tables, whether you want to analyze those in other systems like Microsoft Access, or do pivot tables in Excel, or just keep them for storage. These are huge data tables of all of your contact records, your caller profiles, your shifts, your resource database. These are the kinds of things that you can extract in data tables from the admin tools area. And typically you would come to this area, set up your extract that you would like, decide what you want to export, and set that up, and then initiate it, and then wait for it to be delivered. And depending on the size and the amount of data that you're pulling, sometimes that can take a little time that you're waiting for that to be delivered to your iCarol system. So we have added a feature that we call scheduled exports that lets you basically set it then forget it. It lets you come in and set up that export, say this is an export that I know I'm going to need every quarter, so let me go ahead and set that up now, and then on an automated basis that export's just going to go ahead and be delivered to your iCarol system on that schedule. It's going to be compiled and sent. In addition to having it just be delivered right to your iCarol system, you can also have it sent to an SFTP site, either that you've provided or maybe your partner has provided. If you're doing this scheduled export for a partner or someone you're contracted for, to be able to send them the extract and they have an SFTP, or maybe they prefer that you have that data sent to the SFTP, that is another possibility. You can also decide to have somebody notified when that export is ready. So this is something that, again, just lets you kind of set it up and forget it and have it delivered to you, and then you're ready to go. Everybody who uses iCarol, every iCarol system gets one free monthly scheduled export, so you can have that set up and happen on a monthly basis. But more are available for a nominal fee. Just please talk to our support team about getting those set up. We can certainly enable more of those, and you can decide, which exports you would like to have available and set those up on a schedule that works for you. You can have multiple different scheduled exports for your needs. All you have to do is talk to support about that. The goal of this is to help you save time, the time that you might have taken every month to go ahead and set those up and then wait for them. If you set them up once and have them scheduled and be delivered on a schedule, it saves you time that you can divert to other tasks. We do have a blog that you can read about this, and it is available now. So there's instructions, I believe, and help articles in your iCarol system that you can go in and read about how to set up your free scheduled export. And then, of course, please talk to our support team if you would like more information about having multiple scheduled exports set up to help save you some time. Crystal, do we have any questions about this one?
It does not look like we have any questions yet.
Okay, great. Well, I'll go ahead and move on to our next feature then. So let's talk a little bit about some enhancements we've made to the iCarol Resource API. Really quick reminder and recap that the API is just a way that helps you harness your resource data and take it and use it in all sorts of different projects that you might be participating in. Whether you are using your resource data to create a mobile app, or maybe you're sending that resource data to some sort of project where there's a repository of data, or another search on someone else's website where you're contributing your resources to their search, or perhaps any other number of ways. Maybe you're building your own custom website and would like to have that search, custom search on your website. So regardless, the API, the resource API, helps you to do that. Whenever you're talking about taking data and sharing it, it can be difficult when there's lots of different sort of languages that are occurring, and you want a common language for that data. Different vendors might have different formats that data gets exported in, but anytime you can have kind of more of an open source or open data style where any vendor, regardless of vendor, could read the language more easily, that helps with those sharing partnerships. One way that we have built support into iCarol in a couple different places is for the open referral HSDS language of sharing data. And we've actually built support into the resource API for the open referral HSDS version 1.1. You might recall as well that we had the open referral HSDS 1.0 is a format that you can export your resource database in from the admin tools area of iCarol. So we really want to support those common languages wherever we can, because we know it makes it even easier for you to participate in these sharing projects together when you have these more open format of resource of being able to read that data. We were the first INR software to build that kind of support in for this open referral. In addition to having this common language, another enhancement to the resource API is that you can now use it to build a full list of your resources and even filter those and order those by the ones that were most recently updated versus further in the past were updated. That was something that our clients had asked to be able to do with the API, and something that we built in as well. And again, we just want to go back to reminding everyone that we know that the easier you can take this data that you're spending all this time and effort curating and making it accurate, the easier that you can share that with others means that you're able to participate in more collaborations and say yes to more projects. If somebody comes to you and says, I want to do this, and there's multiple different ways you can take that data from iCarol and get it to them and participate, then the more chances there are that you can say yes to these collaborations, which means the more chance that you can bring in increased revenue for your organization, and we really do want to support that. We do have a blog about this, and this is available now. So if you are interested in using the resource API, or you're already using it and you want to know more about this, please do talk to support or check out the help articles that we have available so that you can get to using that. Crystal, do we have any questions about this?
Not yet.
Okay, great. If you have any questions, remember you can send them through later, because we'll also check again at the end of our webinar to see if there's any more questions. But for now, I'll go ahead and move on and talk about another API, which is new. It's our contact record outbound API. Again, it's just kind of the same general concept. It's taking data that you've entered and being able to share it. This is something where we really want to be able to support your partnerships, and we've always wanted to support your partnerships, and there's other ways that you can partner using your contact record. Again, also the same thing as call report, export data. You could export that and share it with somebody. You can also, we have a way for you to replicate your contact record data to external databases as well. So this isn't the first way, certainly, that you could share your contact record data, but it is a new way to do that. The new option is to have an API. So how this works is it takes your contact record data that you have entered into your iCarol system, and it helps you then, after the call report or contact record is complete, to securely send it to what is known as a RESTful API web service, and sometimes also known as a webhook. Crystal has described this as, and I hope I'm getting this right, Crystal, that it's sort of just this little thing out in the internet, just waiting and listening for the data to be sent to it. And so this is something that you would provide, or maybe a partner of yours would provide if this is part of a project, where it's just waiting for your contact record data to be sent to it, and then it'll securely be sent. It'll grab that data. So it is a push service where it's pushed securely one-way transmission. So it's not something where the data can then be sent back and update that contact record in your iCarol system. This is something where you're pushing your contact record data to this RESTful API web service where it's listening for it. This is useful for things like maybe you are participating in a mobile intake program where you are taking calls, you've identified somebody who's eligible for a mobile crisis program, you go ahead and do an intake for them, and then you want to push that data to the mobile provider when you dispatch them, and it's going to send that data right to their RESTful API web service that they have waiting, if that's maybe the way that they prefer to have that data sent to them. If you're participating in a data aggregation project where your contact record data is being aggregated, or maybe there's an external dashboard waiting there for the data, you could push it that way. Or if maybe you're a contracted party that is providing services like crisis support or an EAP service or counseling, or you're doing emergency room follow-up, and those services that have contracted you are expecting to get this contact record data sent back to them. This is another place where maybe they have a RESTful API service and they would like to have that data sent that way. You can be able to do that now. Again, opening up more collaborative options for you, more opportunities where if you are aware of a project that's happening and you want to participate, but they have a very certain way that they want to receive that data, this just gives you more options to say, yes, I can do that. My system allows me and enables me to do that. Crystal, do we have any questions about the contact record outbound API?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, well, we will move on then. This is available now, and certainly talk to our support team if you would like to get more documentation about this and learn more about setting this up. Next, I want to talk about some of the data privacy and shredding enhancements that we have. A quick review on kind of what some of this, the source of some of this is the General Data Protection Regulation, also known as GDPR. This went into effect in the EU back in May. And what GDPR is that it broadens the definition of what's considered personally identifiable data, and it also strengthens the enforcement for handling that data. It gives people the power to request copies of personally identifiable data that you might track about them, and it gives them the power to come to you and say, I'd like this data removed from my system. So really impacts the data that you keep, especially personal and private data about people. This is something that is specific to the European Union, but certainly wherever many of our clients exist in the European Union or have clients there. And so this is something definitely for everyone to be aware of, and making sure that they're aware of what these regulations are, and so that you can know whether or not you're in compliance if this could potentially affect you in any way. One thing that we have always kind of had in iCarol is the ability for you to shred identifying information about people. Private information such as their name, anything that can identify them, their name, their phone number, addresses, things of that sort, is something that you can shred electronically in the same way that if you were on a paper-based system, you would probably have one of those big shred trucks come into your parking lot every couple of years, and you would give them a lot of files and things that you needed to destroy on a regular basis. So this is just really digitally shredding information, and that's something, again, that's been in iCarol for a while, where you can decide that you want to have that contact record identifiable information shredded and destroyed, while still maintaining the statistical information, the non-identifiable information that you collect in your drop downs and check boxes on your call report form, because certainly you still need to be able to run your data, run your reports. You might still need to go back and retrieve that, even if the identifiable parts have been shredded. So to comply with GDPR, we, and just to give some more options here, we've added some more frequent timeframes for that shredding to occur. This helps you comply with regulations, whether you're part of the EU and you have clients in the EU and you need to comply specifically with GDPR, or just being able to give you some more options to meet your own internal policies, and that flexibility that if you as an organization decide for whatever reason that you would like to shred certain information on a more frequent basis, it lets you meet your own internal policies or procedures and have that flexibility to have that conversation about how often that information is going to be shredded. We have a blog that Rachel wrote about GDPR and how it affects you, and in that we talk a little bit about these shredding enhancements. So please check that out, but this is something that's available now. Crystal, I don't think we have any questions, but I'll let you tell me.
We don't. I'm hoping there'll be lots of questions at the end.
Yeah, there we go. Everybody's just saving up the good questions for us. Okay, well, we'll move on next to talk about your chat transcripts. So as you know, for those of you who use messaging, after a chat with someone is over, the transcript is part of the contact record. Really, the transcript of you talking back and forth with that visitor, chatting back and forth with them, is happening in the conversation, and then it's also moved over to the contact record when the conversation is over, so that you have that that record of that for quality assurance purposes or for someone to review that is there. Now, saved transcripts can also be shredded in alignment with whatever settings you have. Those are considered personally identifiable, or just a part of the conversation that would be shredded. So they can be shredded in alignment with the other settings that you've chosen. But in addition to shredding those, you can actually choose not to have the chat transcript moved to the contact record so that it only does exist in that conversation. Now, this helps you comply with policies or best practices that you might want to set internally. There are many reasons why you might not want to have that transcript be a part of the contact record. But then also it helps meet industry-specific requirements. We've encountered clients and potential clients who are existing in the intimate partner violence and domestic violence space, the sexual violence survivors space, who have their own industry-specific requirements and things that they need to comply with as far as protecting people's private and identifiable information. And so this is just a way to accommodate some of those industry-specific requirements and gives you more options as well for deciding what you would like to have moved into the, whether or not you would like to have that chat transcript moved into the permanent record of the conversation. This is also available now. And Crystal, do we have any questions or comments?
We don't.
Okay. All right, well, I'll move on to some of the things that we'll talk about having to do with the continuity of care and helping the clients receive that continuity of care. First, we'll talk about assigning follow-ups to partner organizations. So within iCarol, for a long time, we've had the ability for you to share your contact record with another partner who's an iCarol user as well. It's something where you can take a contact record that you have, a contact form, and say, I want this organization, who I know also uses iCarol, to be able to have access to this contact record, because sometimes they're going to be taking my calls and logging those calls, and I want them to use the exact same data capture as I do. This is really common, as you might have guessed from that description, is for after hours coverage, something that certainly a lot of our clients use, where you know, they answer calls for certain hours during the day, but maybe they're not a 24-hour service, and so after a certain hour, they send their calls to another center. And if both those centers actually use iCarol, it's very, very easy to have that after-hours center take the same contact record that's filled out during the day and collect all the same information for making a really, really seamless data collection and an easy partnership. So that's one of the most common ways we see this used. Just to give you some terminology so that the rest of this conversation makes sense, when we have these partnerships in iCarol, there's who's considered a host and who's considered a guest. The host would be considered like that daytime center that they are the primary people who answer those calls, and those are their calls, and that contact record is theirs in their iCarol system. Whereas the guest would be like the after-hours center. They are sort of just borrowing that call report, that contact record, while they're answering those after-hours calls or chats or texts. And they are, using that to make sure all the same data is filled out. But they are the guests. They are using someone else's contact record. So what we've added in here is the ability for the guests, the after hours folks, to be able to assign follow-ups when they are talking with somebody and they're scheduling a follow-up contact. They can assign those follow-ups to people in a different iCarol system, in the host iCarol system. Great in a situation where you're taking a call after hours, but that follow-up call is going to happen the next morning, or it needs to happen the next morning because it's a safety check situation. Being able to assign that and have that be in the host's iCarol system when they get in the morning and check in on the calls that they received after hours is really great. It creates a seamless service for the clients and helps with that continuity of care so that clients are really, they don't realize they're getting different services from different organizations at all. To them, it feels like one seamless service, which is really great for the making sure that they're not feeling confused or pulled in different directions. So really helps with that. This is something that's available now, and you can certainly pull up information in your iCarol help area. We'll also have some blogs and other information about that. Crystal, do we have any questions?
No, we don't.
Okay, excellent. Well, I will move ahead then. Excuse me. And we'll talk about encrypting and emailing contact records. So this is yet another option for sharing your contact record data. For a while, you've been able to create PDFs of your contact records, whether you need to scan those or fax those or do whatever you need. Having a PDF version of a printable call report contact record is really, really useful. But now we've built into iCarol a way for you to email those PDFs of contact records directly from within iCarol. This could be really useful for situations where you're maybe sending a warm referral, or perhaps there's a funder involved in a situation where they require a copy of a contact that you made with somebody. Again, if you're referring a crisis call or maybe referring to a mobile crisis, you've done an intake and you're referring to a mobile crisis team and you want to email the person on duty. So lots of different ways that this could be useful, lots of use cases for this. This is something where taking that PDF and being able to email it right within iCarol is by default enabled for admins and supervisors, but you can go in and through the advanced security settings on a very granular level decide what other members of your staff who are maybe of a standard security setting you would like them to have the ability to do this. So it really gives you some control over who should have the ability to send these. You can initiate this sending of the email from viewing a single contact record and creating that single PDF, or an advanced search. And in that example, you might want to be creating bundles of contact records. Say there's a specific program that you know on a daily, weekly, however often basis you're going to be emailing all of the contact records. Maybe you've created a specific filter on your contact record for it, and then you can quickly do a search for all of the calls that fall into that filter and create that batch PDF to send as an email right within iCarol. This is something that when you set it up, as you can see on the screenshot here, there is a password for the file so that the person cannot open it up unless you have provided them with the password. And you want to create a really strong password. The strength of the password is really key here as far as the security of this document that you're sending that's encrypted. And another thing that you can do with this is certainly if you're just sending these every on a one-time basis or for a specific reason one time, you can send this off, but you can also create templates for this so that if there is a particular grant you're working on where you're sending these contact records through encrypted emails as PDFs, or something where you're going to be sending the same email on a weekly basis and you just want to create a template because it's always going to say the same thing, worded a certain way, you can create those templates. That's going to save you even more time. This is a feature that's free to use. It's included with your iCarol subscription, just like creating the PDFs is included. So we really hope that you can make use of this and be able to use this to send these PDFs encrypted to your partners. Hopefully, if there's any ways that you've been doing this before because this feature wasn't yet enabled and you're working around and doing it other ways, we hope that you'll bring this into iCarol and use it that way, and that you'll find this very useful. Crystal, do you have any questions about this one?
We do have a question. Will sending batch emails be automated so that they can be sent on a recurring basis, kind of set it and forget it? Right now, we don't support that functionality, but it is a fantastic idea. So if you'd like to submit it to the iCarol Ideas portal, we'd love to consider it.
Excellent. That's a great question. And yeah, thanks for sending that question in. Okay, well, if anybody thinks of any more, please do send them through so we can address them at the end, but we'll go ahead and move on. Again, this is available now, and you should have some instructions in your iCarol system for how to do that. It's pretty straightforward and really easy, I think, to use, and we'll also be providing some other documentation for you too. We want to end with our last item here is to talk a little bit about sending referrals from 898-211. This really only applies to any of you who are here today who are 211s. And as you're aware, there's a national texting platform, 898-211, where people across the country can send their zip code and they can get some referrals back through that national number. And we want to be able to help you participate in this if you are interested, the 211s who use iCarol. So we have made it so that you can send referrals by SMS through iCarol, and that those referrals will come from 898-211. So you can get this implemented in your iCarol system so that those referral texts that you can send can come from that number. Really create a nice workaround where it's all coming from, looking like it's coming from the same number, and you can participate in that national project. So it's very easy to participate here. You would want to contact our support team. There are 3 key pieces of information that you want to make sure you have available when you send that to them to get started with this. They need to know the names of each contact form in your iCarol system that this would apply to, that you need to have enabled for this. They need your EMS, that's the texting provider. They need the text relay code that you've been assigned as a part of this project, and they need to know which resource fields you would like to include in that template that you're sending by SMS. So, do you want name, phone number, all of that kind of the fields from your resource database that you'd like to include. This is available now. Just contact the support team if you'd like to participate in this. Crystal, do we have any questions about this?
We do have a couple questions about sending referral or sending the contact records by email. Can you send the records to more than one email address? You can. You can also BCC and CC email additional email addresses. And there's also a question about chat transcripts. Does it apply only to chat or to SMS and texting? And it does apply to both. And it's set per call report, or sorry, per contact form. We're even going to use new terminology.
Great, those are great questions, and yes, I forgot to mention during the last one about emailing the contact records. If you're like me, like anytime I send an email, sometimes if it's really important, I want to even BCC myself or CC myself so I have a copy of it that comes back to me. I'm always that little did it really send? Did it really, or did it just go out there in the universe? Some of those really important ones that you want to know they made it. So there is the ability, like Crystal just answered, that you can have that CC'd or BCC'd to yourself as well to make sure that you are on the receiving end of that as well. So great question. Well, I'll go ahead, Crystal.
Oh, there's one more question about chat transcripts.
Okay.
And the question is, chat transcripts exist in the conversation window itself, as well as when copied to the contact record after the conversation ends. Can we say more, or can we talk more about what the conversation means. So the conversation is when you're on the chat page and you're engaging and talking to someone actively, that's the conversation. So that exists in one place. And then when that conversation ends, the chat ends, chat or SMS ends, that transcript can get copied to the call report. And that makes it searchable, so you can search for any terms or values that are in there. Allows you to reference it when you're filling out the contact form with all the other demographics and other details. So those kind of exist separately. So the settings to disable copying and to shred the transcript separately from the contact record can really be used and configured to meet your business needs and rules.
Great. Thank you, Crystal, for that clarification.
Wonderful. And then there's one other question, it looks like, is there a cost for sending referrals to the 898-211 short code? And no, there is not.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, I'll get into the last part then of our webinar here as we wrap up. Anytime you need more information on any of what iCarol can do, there's a lot of different ways that we make that available to you. And so we always like to go over those so that you're aware. We have videos, online video tutorials available for you within the help area of your iCarol system. There's also help articles throughout iCarol in the about features throughout iCarol in the help area as well, so you can search on those. A lot of times your help articles are going to be the great places where you have step-by-step instructions for how to set something up and more great information there. We do make information available on the blog. Often when there's a new feature we want to tell you about, we will blog about it and often include a landing page about it on our website so that it can be included in all of our other features that we have. Of course, if you don't find what you're looking for by watching a video or reading a help article, our support team is always happy to help you. You have an area right within iCarol in your case management system where you can write them a case, provide them with some information, and work with one of our support team members to answer a question or help you with a problem. The dashboard, specifically the admin dashboard, when people first sign in, admins first sign into iCarol, you have your announcements, tips, and tricks area in the middle where we will often announce new features. Also, don't forget that your training information, training webinars are available there, and release history and plans. Whenever we have a new release in iCarol, there's information there about what was included in that release. So please don't forget that that's there. Go ahead and read that because there will be a lot of information there to read about what's been included in a release. And then we'll also sometimes send out emails letting you know about new features that are available so that, just in case any of those other ways of communicating haven't reached you, sometimes an email is the preferred way that you would like to receive those. A great time to mention, too, when it comes to emails from iCarol, that you should be receiving when you get emails from us about products, please do check those emails for your settings. You can decide what kinds of communications you would like to receive from iCarol, and there is a link within those emails that allow you to do that if you'd like to unsubscribe. We also often send out system messages. We really want to communicate with you about what's going on with your iCarol system, and there's sometimes important system messages that are going to be coming from us, but you do have some control and being able to decide what you want to receive. So please check out that link in your email and know that you can kind of create your communications preferences with the emails that we send. And then finally, like we're having today, our webinars are another way that we like to communicate with you about new features as they're released. So on a periodic basis, we will have a webinar like this to talk about the new features and enhancements that have been added to iCarol. And finally, the iCarol Ideas portal, which has been so useful and really getting used by everybody, and we think everybody's really enjoying it. Please continue to use that to submit your ideas, contribute to ideas that are already there, and add in your comments, add in your votes, something that's really a great community feature for everyone to participate in and be working together to come up with these ideas and make new features as they're added even more robust and do even more and be more complete and serving more of our clients with what they do. So please keep participating in that. We want your feedback on this webinar and whether or not these are helpful to you. Are they providing you with enough information? Would you like them to have more, or are they providing you too much and you'd like less? We really are welcoming your feedback and want your feedback on that and any other aspects of how we're communicating with you. So please do reach out and let us know how we're doing. And finally, I will just loop back around one more time and see if there are any questions about any of the features that we discussed today on the webinar.
Hopefully we have one question. How can we sign up to receive system messages? That might be the best one for you to answer.
Yes, so often the system messages that we have will come out and they will go to anyone who is an admin or supervisor. We've also used our systems to detect certain other people who are already associated with your organization and who may want to be getting these emails. But if you are an admin or a supervisor, you should automatically be included in those emails, in the system emails, things where we will send out messages about any kind of issue that might have happened or the resolution or the cause and other important system information. So admins and supervisors are automatically looped into that. If you are not receiving them and you would like to, I would suggest that you send us an email. You are certainly welcome to send that directly to me, Dana at iCarol.com, if you're not getting them. We can investigate and try to find out why you're not getting them and give you some instruction for how to add you in if we're not able to add you in directly. Also, one way that you can also subscribe to emails about getting like our blog digest, best practice emails, go to our website. At the very bottom of the page, there is a bunch of links, and one of them is sign up to stay informed. That is an area where you can go to sign yourself up. And anytime you download a white paper or a guide, things like that from our website, you fill out a quick form, and that will also initiate a process for you to sign up for our mailing list, be able to make sure that you're opting in and giving us that permission to email you. And then once all of that opt-in process is complete, you'll be able to get those emails as well. So I hope that answers the question. But if anybody has any issues with signing up or they feel like they should be getting something and they're not, they are welcome to email me. Again, just email Dana at iCarol.com. And I'd be happy to help. And you can always reach out to the support team as well for assistance.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, any other questions that came through, Crystal? I don't think I see any, but.
Nope, it looks like everything.
Okay, excellent. Well, I want to thank everybody again for joining us today, and thanking you, Crystal, as well for all the help answering questions and providing all the great product information. So thank you for that as well. And with that, if we don't have any more questions, we'll go ahead and end our webinar today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Of course, always reach out to the support team if you have any follow-up questions later or need any help with any of the features we discussed today. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time today and joining us for the webinar. You'll receive your follow-up emails with the recording and everything in the coming days. And we hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now.